But anyway, I guess my Built Bar rewards, my Fetch rewards, my social media, both my Instagram and 2 Facebook, also down in the description box. Hello and welcome to my porch. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel typically sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today I am out on the porch, so that obviously means I'm not cooking, although I will be actually grilling some burgers later. And if you've watched this channel at all, I don't trust myself grilling, but Paul insisted. But I'm not doing a recipe today. What I'm doing, of course, is No Tag Tuesday. And all the questions, as well as the links to the other channels doing this tag, will be down in the description box. So go check them out if you would be so kind. They all have some great content besides just the tags. Now the questions this week come from Sandy over at Life with Sandy. And it's a good thing that I confirmed that she was the one doing the questions this week, because I looked and the email as it opened up showed me the 10 questions, and I didn't look any further because there was a big white gap underneath. I figured that was it. In checking to make sure that it was Sandy who did the questions this week, I did find at the very bottom a question just for me from Jimmy. So I will be answering that one as well. So you'll get a bonus question out of me. And I'm still not sure how to answer it because, as I said, I just found it. So I did go over the other questions with Paul, my partner Paul. And so I should have answers for those. We'll see if I actually remember what I was going to say. But let us get started with number 1. What is something you hate about going to the movies? Prices, people talking, advertisements. At the end of each question, she offers some choices. You can choose those choices or pick something of your own. And I usually haven't had problems with people talking. I don't mind the advertisements too much. If there are too many, then yeah. I love the trailers because I like to see what's coming up. Prices, especially for concessions, Paul and I both agreed those are a big no-no for us. We hate spending that kind of money just for popcorn or whatever. But also just people in general, especially nowadays, ever since COVID, I am far less inclined to go to the movies and more willing to wait until it comes out on one of the streaming services, which they come out fairly quickly these days because of COVID. But unless it's like some big blockbuster, like a Marvel movie or maybe a Star Wars movie, I will wait until they're on the streaming service so I can watch it at home, not deal with all the people as far as contagion goes. And yeah, I'm far less likely to do anything like that in a closed environment especially. So I guess that's my answer, people and prices. Although not people in a I hate people kind of way, just in a cover my face and stay away from me. Is that right? No. But you know what I mean. Number 2, name something you have a best of. Car, pet, friend, clothes, house, etc. Now, if you've seen any of my tags before, I don't typically have best of things. I guess Paul and I talked about this, and I guess because I at first was not sure what this meant, best of. But when I saw a friend, I was like, Paul is obviously my best friend, which is great to have in a partner. You want them to be your best friend as well, or at least a really close friend. But name something you have a best of. I don't really have anything, and I don't know if Paul and I, when we discussed this, came up with anything else. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go with friend and pick Paul. That one's still a little unclear to me. It's a little open-ended, I guess, because I don't know. Anyway, I'm going with Paul. Number 3, what is something you love to do in the summer? Picnic, go to the beach, barbecue, fish, garden. Paul and I both said stay at home in the air conditioning. We're not really summer people. I'm not a fan of the beach. I mean, I used to go when I was younger, but it was never really a big draw. Sorry, Joan, I know that you enjoy the beach. I'm just not that person. I don't like picnics because you're sitting out there with the bugs crawling all over. I would never fish. I think I tried it once when I was a kid, and even just trying to put the worm on the hook grossed me out. And if anyone knows and has seen this channel, you know I don't do seafood, so there's really no point in me fishing. I did used to garden. I did used to garden until my neuropathy and myopathy made it difficult for me. I can't get down on the ground and do those things. I could get little planter boxes because I have done that with herbs before, but I just haven't. But if I have to pick one, because even barbecuing, we have a grill and I barely ever use it because, as I said, I'm not really great at grilling. So I'd much rather cook inside, especially since then I'm in the air conditioning. But if I had to pick one, and well, something you love to do in the summer, even gardening. I didn't love gardening. I did it as a practical thing to try to grow some veggies and herbs, but I could live without it. It's not something I loved doing, and I wasn't like an aficionado or anything like that. So I guess I'm going to stick with stay inside in the air conditioning. That's my go-to. Number 4, name something you have had a long time that is more comfortable the longer you have owned it. Shoes, slippers, clothes, chair, pillow. Again, not really sure. I think the only thing I can think of, and I'm not sure if Paul and I said this when we went over these questions, but I think we may have, is each other. I mean, we've been together 22 years. We've gotten far more comfortable with each other, obviously, as the years have gone on. So I guess I'm just going to say, not that I own him or that he owns me, but I'm going to stick with Paul. Number 5, name something your mother told you never to do. Talk with food in your mouth, gossip, do everything your friends talked you into doing, etc. Obviously, yes to all of those. But I was trying to think if there was something specific, like not one of those general things. Like, you know, I was told when I was a kid not to swallow gum because it would sit in your stomach forever and eventually block you up. I thought it was my mother who had told me that, and when I confronted her about it one time, well, not confronted, but I asked her, she said it wasn't her. So I can't blame that one on her, unless she's lying to me or forgot she told me. I guess I'm just going to go with the ones that Sandy's listed. I'm sure there are other things, but nothing that really comes to mind. 6, name an old movie that just about everyone has seen, but you think was the best movie ever. Wizard of Oz, The Godfather, Gone with the Wind. Paul was actually surprised that I've never seen Gone with the Wind. I mean, I've seen snippets of it here and there. And I've also never, ever seen The Godfather. I actually won a DVD set of the three movies, the first three movies. Or I think there were only three. I don't know how many there are. Obviously, I don't know anything about them. Never watched them. That kind of thing just doesn't interest me. It probably would have interested my mother because she was kind of like me, a true crime junkie, and my sister Kelly. She liked true crime. She used to get this magazine called True Detective and read all those stories. But she really liked mobsters for some reason. And I don't know if that was because of the era she grew up in or the fact that she grew up in New York, or I don't know what it was. But she really liked mobsters. I don't know if she had ever seen The Godfather either. I don't know. Anyways, I've never seen either of those. I would have to say of those, The Wizard of Oz I could watch all the time. But Paul and I had come up with other movies that are now escaping me. Oh, one of my favorites. I know what we went over. Psycho was a good one. Probably everyone's seen it. I do love it. But even more than Psycho, I loved The Birds. Absolutely love The Birds. It's just so suspenseful, so well done. And if any of you youngins have never seen The Birds, check it out. It's not overly scary. I mean, there are some little scary parts, but it was an old Alfred Hitchcock movie back from the early days, like the 60s or 70s, early 70s. I don't know dates. But anyway, so it's not like gory, like by today's standards. But The Birds, I really loved. So I'll go with The Birds. Wizard of Oz is a very close second because Wizard of Oz to me is just timeless. You can watch it anytime and it still holds up. 7, name an activity you failed at the first time you tried but seemed to come more easily for other people. Ride a bike, drive a car, skiing, roller skating. I mean, I was never great at roller skating. I had roller skates. I was never great, but I didn't really fail at it. And Paul suggested driving a car because, as many of you know, I was 33 before I got my license because I was terrified of driving. But I didn't fail the driving test the first time. I just was afraid to do it for a very long time. So I didn't really fail at it. But I guess I put it off for a long time. I guess I'm going to go with drive a car. Ride a bike, I don't remember learning to ride a bike. But I don't remember ever having an issue. Never really had an... Oh, okay. Okay, now I remember. Now looking at this list and seeing skiing, and I know I just read it, but I didn't really let it sink in. When I was living in New York with my ex, Jason, and if you're watching, Jason, hello, we went on a trip because his sister worked for ABC television at the time, and they had a trip for their employees to go to some ski resort. And I did go. I did try learning to ski. I went on the little bunny slope, I guess they call it. And the guy had told us how we're supposed to stop and whatnot. I could not stop. I was heading for a ski rack. All of these people were running out of my way. So I finally had to just throw myself over into the snow, took off the skis, and went into the pool. Never put a ski on again. So I guess I'll go with skiing. Because, yeah, I failed once. Never had I didn't even have the desire to really try it that time. But I did. But, yeah, I'll go with skiing. With driving a car, second, although I didn't really fail the first time. Number 8. What do you consider the most boring sport to watch on TV? Bowling, baseball, golf, boxing, etc. Now, I thought that Paul and I were going to have the same answer for this. I thought we would both say any sport is boring to watch because we do not like sports. I don't participate in them, and I definitely don't want to watch them. That's even more boring to me than participating in them. But Paul's response, and before you get all worked up about this response, there is an explanation that I agree with. His first response was women's tennis, and I said, why tennis in particular? And he said, okay, any women's sports. Not because women are not great at sports, but if we had to watch sports, we would rather watch men playing sports so that we could check out how well they fit into their uniforms and that kind of thing. We'd at least have the men to look at if we had to watch sports. But we don't have to watch sports. So I'm still going to say any, but I do agree with Paul that if we were forced to watch sports, we'd be less inclined to watch women's sports just because men's sports, we at least have some eye candy to watch. Number 9, name a kind of business that used to give better service, cable TV, restaurants, retail stores. Paul and I were unanimous on this one. Most every business nowadays is not what it used to be. Customer service has gotten very automated, very like, okay, here, I'll fix this for you. Nobody cares like they used to. Yeah, so I'm going to say any kind of business. The service, generally, there are some that do great jobs. I'm not disputing that. But those are the rare exceptions, especially in this big company, mega store kind of mentality. Most people don't care anymore. At least that's the way it seems. There are exceptions, but I'm going to say any business at this point. Number 10, which should be the last question, and would have been if I hadn't just looked back. Where or what was the most uncomfortable place you have ever slept? Floor, ground, couch, tent, mattress, or rollers in your hair? I've never worn rollers in my hair. I know that comes as a surprise to many of you. I do remember my mother wearing them to bed, and I could never understand how you could sleep like that. But she made it work. For Paul, he was in the Air Force. He also worked as a contractor for the military at certain points. And his answer was on an aircraft carrier, because his bunk was right underneath where the planes would land. And apparently there are hooks that catch onto chains on the deck of the boat or ship. I'm sorry, it's a ship because it's bigger, right? I don't know. I'm not nautical. But there are chains, and the hooks on the plane, I guess, would catch the chains and pull along to help stop the plane as it landed. And then the chains would get released from the plane, and you'd hear them winding back up. And Paul was sleeping right underneath where that was, in probably like this much space as it was to begin with. Because, you know, if you've ever seen those nautical movies, they don't look like they have a lot of room. For me, I'm going to say in a tent, camping when it was raining. The most miserable sleep I've ever had. I am not a camper. I'm not an outdoors person, and many of you know that if you've been seeing these tags for a while. I am not an outdoorsy person. Give me air conditioning and a TV remote, I'm a happy camper. So it was bad enough I was camping, bad enough I was in a tent, but then it was also raining on top of it. No, that was the most miserable, and I can be miserable, ask Paul. That was the most miserable I think I've ever been sleeping. All right, so that should have been the end of the questions, but Jimmy has a bonus question for me. And as I said, I haven't really had time to think about this, so We'll see what comes up. If you were trapped in Jimmy's basement for a year, what would you do? Now, if any of you are new to my tags, there was a time a while back when I was doing some green screen stuff because it was too cold to come out on the porch. And I did a green screen of myself hiding in Sandy's son's Jimmy's basement. And so that's been a running joke for quite a while now. So if you haven't seen any of my tags before, or at least seen those, that's a little of the backstory of why he came up with this question. Now, when I was in there, I did steal some Cheerios and some Rice Krispies and some bananas because I had to eat. So if I were trapped in Jimmy's basement for a year, now trapped makes it sound like he's trapped me down there. Now hiding and trapped are two different things. If I were hiding down there, then I could get out while people were away and go eat and do whatever, watch TV or whatever I wanted to do in the house. But I'm trapped in there. So if I were trapped in Jimmy's basement for a year, what would I do? I would probably pull a Shawshank and dig my way out, put up some sort of a poster, tarp, or something on the wall, and try to dig my way out using whatever I could find in the basement, spoon, screwdriver, shovel, whatever. But I would probably spend that year trying to dig my way out if I were trapped in there. And it sounds like I'm almost prisoner or accidentally locked myself in. But anyways, if you've seen The Shawshank Redemption, where he digs his way out of prison, hiding the hole behind a poster of Rita Hayworth, that's what I would do. Dig my way out and hopefully not starve to death in that time. Hopefully they'd keep some food stored in the basement so I wouldn't go hungry. But anyway, I guess that will be my response. If I'm hiding, as I said, sneak around, do what I want during the day while everyone's gone. If I'm trapped, dig my way out. So there you have it, Jimmy. Just wait until my turn comes up. I don't think my turn's until October, so you have some time. But there will be a question for you, Jimmy. There will be a question for you. Anyway, thank you to Sandy and Jimmy over at Life with Sandy for these questions. As I said, the questions for this week will be listed down in the description box below, including my bonus question from Jimmy. And there will also be links to all of the channels that typically participate in this tag, so go check those out as well. Also, down in the description box, you will find links to my recipe blog, to my Amazon storefront. If I've used anything on this channel that you're curious about, it may be there. My Built Bar rewards, my Fetch rewards, my social media, both my Instagram and Facebook groups. So go check out the description box for all sorts of information. And also, if you would do the usual, like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. So, until next time, bye.